the post office hierarchy either kept their jobs or reassigned in the recruiting, with 5 more joining the leadership. The list goes on, and my colleagues are going to talk about this. Let's be very clear. Why are we here today? Today because we know the Postal Service is a lifeline to our veterans for their prescriptions, lifeline to our seniors who order their prescriptions by mail. And then you add to that, I have a complaint by that all of the members of Congress have been getting. And I wanted to read this. So you know during COVID that all of us are locked down and our children are learning from homes and parents have had to step up to be teachers. The constituents' complaint was, I've been ordering a lot of used books for kids through eBay while the library is closed. Usually I find the books that I want from someone in Michigan. In this case, the seller was in Michigan and the book was shipped as media mail, which usually takes a little bit longer than first class. It took 33 days to arrive. And the path it took based on tracking the data was very bizarre. We talk about the medicine, we talk about the correspondence, but think about the effects that the Postal Service, the holes they have filled during this pandemic. The simple fact of getting books for your children. At this time, I would like to bring up the person who is currently the Dean of the Democratic Caucus, who is here with me, and that is my Congressman Dan Kildee, who will come and have words.
All right. Thank you, Brenda. Well, let me start off by thanking Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence for organizing this, but most especially for her leadership on this issue. Nobody in Congress knows more about the importance and the important work and the dedication of people associated with the U.S. Postal Service and Congresswoman Lawrence, and she has been their champion. And so I want to thank you, Congresswoman Lawrence, for your incredible leadership. This is a really important moment. The motto of the U.S. Postal Service is, neither snow nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. Now we can add global pandemic to that list. Since the beginning of this crisis, people who work for the United States Postal Service have come to work, have put themselves at risk in order to meet the commitment, the centuries-old commitment that the U.S. Postal Service represents. It is literally the institution of government that connects us to one another. These workers have provided, they are frontline workers, critical services, access to medicines, access to the connection to family members, to business, to their community that is so essential. And of course, the Postal Service was already dealing with fiscal solvency issues, largely as a creation of the United States government before the pandemic, which has exacerbated that problem. Of course, Democrats in the House of Representatives did something about it. 2.5 months ago, we passed the HEROES Act that provided essential support not just to the U.S. Postal Service, but to Americans in general. And what has happened? The U.S. Senate has failed to act. Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans have essentially sat on their hands and not done their job. The Postmaster General then doubled down. His harmful policies, his so-called cost-cutting measures, have delayed mail and have made the work of these essential postal employees that much more difficult. They're hardworking people who are dedicated to serving this country. And we actually have a postmaster who's making their job more difficult. It begs the question as to why. And I think in the coming days, we will hear more about that as committees of Congress will conduct oversight hearings on that. But putting 600,000 employees at risk is not a responsible move, and it's certainly not what you'd expect of the Postmaster General. But this is having real-life consequences. I have constituents, one, Carol from Durand, who had to wait 29 days to get medication that she ordered because of these delays. This is not just about the precious right to vote, but it's very much about that. I had David from Hale, who nearly had his insurance lapse because he simply was not able to get the information from the mail. But the most important moment right now that we face is the reason that President Trump and Mr. LaJoy and others are doing this. It's to directly interfere with the people's right to self-determination, the people's right to cast their ballot. And the president had a moment of truth where he said on national television, the purpose to not provide support to the Postal Service is because then people will actually be able to get their votes delivered on time. And he doesn't want to see that happen. He made that admission in public, out loud, for everyone to hear. Shame on him, especially now, but especially in this moment. Just a few weeks ago, in Congress and in this country, we lost a champion for the right to vote. John Lewis, our friend, who dedicated his life and literally risked his life in order to guarantee that people have the right to cast their ballot. And we have the President of the United States, admittedly doing everything he can, including choking off essential support for the United States Postal Service in order to prevent people from casting their ballot. Shame on him. Shame on him. When it comes to saving lives and preventing the spread of COVID, this president doesn't have a plan. But when it comes to stopping people from casting their ballot, he's organized, he's focused, and he's willing to act. Shame on him. And that's why Congress is going to act. And we're going back on Saturday, and we're going to take up legislation to ensure that standards of delivery are not delayed. And we have stood strong in this argument and in all of the work that we've been doing as a delegation, as a caucus, as a House of Representatives, as the people's voice. We have stood strong. And one of the strongest voices on this issue and on so many issues of social justice is my friend Rashida Tlaib from Detroit. So I want to bring Rashida Tlaib, a champion for the people, to the podium. Rashida.
Happy belated birthday, Kildee.
Thank you. Finally 30.
Good morning, everyone. I am Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, and I have the honor of representing one of the strongest districts in Michigan, the 13th Congressional District. In the 13th, we are already struggling and juggling so much right now. A devastating pandemic, economic crisis, and uncertainty about our children's education system, just to name a few. And unfortunately, this president has decided to add another crisis to our list, the survival of our Postal Service. The United States Postal Service is a central part of our community here in Detroit region. In Michigan and across the nation, the Postal Service employs nearly 500,000 of our friends, our neighbors, and 100,000 of them are veterans, in 7 unions. Every 2 weeks, the Postal Service contributes, this is just 2 weeks, $2 billion in our local economies, not only in their salaries alone, but even mentioning a number of our small businesses that rely on its affordable and timely services to survive and thrive. Nearly half of all the mail in the world, not just in the United States, is handled by the United States Postal Service. So we must protect our Postal Service. While Trump lounges around his luxury golf course, enriching himself at our expense, the billionaire mega donor he appointed, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, is doing everything he can to prevent postal workers from processing mail, sorting ballots, and delivering life-saving medication to our seniors and our loved ones. In true fashion, Trump fashion, Postmaster DeJoy is heavily investing in private shipping firms and no doubt profiting millions by destroying the very system he is protecting, that we are supposed to be protecting, that he is supposed to be protecting. The American people have had enough of this corrupt president and his cronies doing whatever it takes to steal taxpayer dollars and undermining our election this November. Our Postal Service is essential, and as members of the House Oversight Committee, I know Representative Lawrence and I will hold Postmaster General DeJoy accountable this coming Monday when he comes before the House Oversight Committee. I hope he is ready for our questions. I will not stop fighting for what's right, and it's so critical that we speak the truth about what's actually happening. And all you have to do is follow the money. Follow the history that between the Joy and the current corrupt president, and you will see that this is intentional and not only disfranchising our completely dismantling our democracy, but really defunding and dismantling our postal service for for-profit reasons. I want to thank so much my colleagues, including Representative Lawrence, who has personal experience working with the Postal Service and knows what it takes to making sure that our neighbors have everything that they need. But I also want to thank one of our fighters that I know when she is on fire, I have to back away a little bit, and she makes me look calm sometimes. And that's Representative Haley Stevens.
Thank you. Well, my friends, I'm Congresswoman Haley Stevens, representing Michigan's 11th District from Oakland County down to Western Wayne County. I'm standing up here today with my colleagues to say that heroes work here. We stand before the United States Postal Service to say heroes work here, and we have your back. We know your mantra. We know your dedication. We know what you stand for this amazing country and for our community. And we have got to have a Postal Service that not only has our support and our resources, but that we show you that we have your back. And we will not let this Postal Service run underfunded or, God forbid, defunded. We are in the middle of a global pandemic, a 100-year pandemic, and we are still in choppy waters. We have residents of all ages, of all employment levels, be it retired, veteran, our educators, wondering and waiting. Am I going to get my mail on time? Is my parent going to get their prescription drug on time? Are my bills arriving? Are the notes that I am sending forward? I have personally mailed my residents who live in nursing homes, who you have to visit behind the screen of a window to see them. This is a time, one, where we uphold our Postal Service, we stand up to injustice, and we say that we are going to do what's right, which is why we are headed back to Washington again after we passed the HEROES Act months ago to bring some peace of mind, to bring some stability, to say we believe in our federal employees, we believe in our Postal Service, and we believe in the might of the people who work here and their commitment to this amazing country. I am so proud to work with Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence. We have a hero among us. We have a leader in the House of Representatives, and you should hear when they call on Brenda Lawrence to explain what is going on. And that's happening right here in our hometown, right here in Oakland County. And from Livonia up to Auburn Hills over to Troy, I am hearing from my constituents, and I am telling every single one of you, we are going to act. We are in the party of the people. We are in the party of jobs. And we are going to stand up for everyone. Now, we also have here among us one of our leaders with the American Postal Workers Union, my friend Roscoe Woods. He will take your phone call, even when he's busy, even when he's in the middle of something. But he's keeping his union together, he's keeping his people together, he's keeping this workforce together, and we are going to keep moving forward. So, Roscoe, yeah, thank you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for everything you are doing, and we salute you and your union members. And we will not let you fail. We will not let you down. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, friend of mine.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this real. We have a Postmaster General who has been in his job less than 2 months, who have come in and destroyed policies and processes that will move the mail. So when I was a letter carrier, you were required to take an oath of office that you will not allow rain, snow, sleet, or doom of night to impede your progress of delivering the mail. I'm standing here with my colleagues. We are here because we want our Postal Service to know, my family, those who I worked with for 30 years to know we got your back. Yeah. And that the American public needs to know we're not asleep at the wheel. That this LaJoy, who is no joy for the Postal Service, we are calling him in. And I officially today will be calling for his resignation. This is not a play. I'm joining my colleagues in sending out a letter saying I'm sorry, sir, you may be a mega donor, but this is not about your relationship with Donald Trump. This is about America. This is about the people we believe and gave our oath of office to. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll take questions for you. My colleagues will join me for that. Woo! Thank you. Yes.
Can we have him step up?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh.
Really? All right.
How are you, sir?
I'm awesome right now. How you doing?
I'm well. Jim Kurtz on Channel 7. You're quoted in a Crane's reporting on this morning that certain machines have been removed to sort the mail. That's part of the problem. You're slowing this down. That includes the sorting facility up in Pontiac. Can you address that? What have they done?
Of course, yes. Congresswoman Stevens was there this morning with me, and she saw the same thing I did. Giant empty spaces on the workroom floor that used to house delivery barcode sorters. My understanding at this point is they've removed 2 machines in the last week or so, and they're in the process of removing 2 more machines. The 2 of those machines represent a processing ability of moving about 64,000 letters an hour. The senior plant manager, when I mentioned the absence of the machines, stated that, well, they're going to take parts of those machines and add them onto the other machines. And while that may increase your sorting capacity, it doesn't increase your sorting ability. So while they may be able to put more mail on one machine, it doesn't enable them to move more mail out of that facility. But yeah, that is correct. They've eliminated 4 delivery barcode sorters at this point, and they're looking at removing 2 high-speed flat sorters.
So the bottom line of that is what, in terms of production?
Well, the bottom line is that seriously hampers our ability to move mail out of that facility. And come peak volume, it's going to be more difficult. And in the estimation of this individual who's worked for this agency for over 30 years, it's going to result in delays to our customers' mail like we've been experiencing.
One of the things I want to add, Donald Trump keeps saying that the Postal Service cannot handle the mail. You all know what we call Christmas volume, where there is millions of pieces of mail moved every day from people mailing greeting cards during the holiday season, during Mother's Day and other things. We are accustomed in the Postal Service to having peak mail. We adjust it to be sure that we handle it. So I want you all to know another jewel of the Postal Service. We are the largest employer next to the military in the United States of America. So you have more people that are being impacted with this craziness. And think about the minorities and women, because one of the beauties of the Postal Service is that we look like America. We hire everyone. And this is just an insult on so many workers. And add to the insult to injury is that the president has stood up and said, today, we might have to do this over. So his rhetoric of day to day to day, just demonizing the Postal Service, and then having his minions like Postmaster General LaJoy, whatever his name is, coming in, having him come in and just dismantle the Postal Service. We also are passing a bill, that's what we're coming back to D.C. to vote on. It's to stop and desist from all this moving of equipment, cutting out overtime, because you know that's going to back up the mail. Stop it. And you cannot do this during the time that we're having a national election, and that we know will have a direct impact on the mail and the ballots being delivered. So we have the bill will say stop and desist. Do not continue these methods. And how can we not question after less than 2 months that you actually know what you're doing? Yes, sir.
2 questions. One is for Mr. Woods. Can you explain to us the conditions inside the post office? Like, what are you guys dealing with? How bad are the conditions inside?
If I could, I would like to acknowledge, I appreciate Representative Stevens' very gracious acknowledgement of my presence, but I'm here with a whole bunch of very solid union leadership, and I don't want to start naming it because I might forget somebody, but the question regarding what we're seeing inside the facility, what we're seeing inside the facility is it's being treated more like a warehouse than a mail processing facility. Certainly, the oversight that has come about of all the customer complaints and the issues being raised by the employees has moderated some of the delays. But we have no reason to believe, if we do not continue pressing the Postmaster General to explain himself, pressing the Postmaster General to reel in these regressive policies, that we'll see more of the same. In the run-up to the election, I guess as a quick example, Southfield, and don't quote me on the numbers, easy to say, let's say for every day Southfield gets 75,000 letters that have to be delivery sequenced and delivered to the customers. Because of the changes in the truck schedule, Postal Management makes the determination that we don't have time to run all of Southfield's mail and get other mail. So they'll say, tonight you're only going to run 50,000 pieces of Southfield. We'll roll the rest till tomorrow. Well, the following day you get another 75,000 pieces of Southfield. It's a situation. It's a plan for failure. We're not going to take it. It's killing the morale of the people I represent. They come into work, they want to do their job, and they want to go home. Attacking this service under the guise of reducing overtime while we're still in the midst of this pandemic is ridiculous. We need more help, not less. We need more hours, not less. We serve the American people. I'm a veteran, I'm a postal employee, and I'm an American citizen. And I tell you, this is the first time somebody's found a way to offend all three at one time.
We also have another union representative, APW Youth, who represents Detroit, Mr. Keith Cross, right? Yes.
All right. Good afternoon. All right. I would first like to let you all know that you've heard from Roscoe Woods, but we have several other presidents here. Flint president and our state president, Mike Myers, is here. President Pat Condon is here, and my vice president, Pat Tronedy, and 481 president, Sam Wood, is also in attendance. We would just like to thank our congressional leaders. We are so proud of Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, who I happen to have worked with for many years at the downtown location. So if you have questions, I'm willing to take them at this time.
Jordan from the Detroit News, can you address the issue of your sorting machines and how many have been removed from your facility and how that played out?
At my location, 4 machines have been removed. As President Woods has already stated, those machines are capable of running 35,000 pieces per hour. So you multiply that times 4 per hour and you realize exactly just how many pieces of mail are able to be moved and how that will slow the process down.
I guess, can you talk about, how unusual is it for equipment to be moved out of your facility? Have you run into something like that before?
No, well, there's actually been movement before machines. I've never seen 4 at one time before. So that's a huge number to take out right before an election that may require, because of this pandemic, to have a vote by mail. So that is a tremendous amount of equipment to be moved at a time where we need more machines, not less.
What do you make of that, sir?
I'm sorry?
What do you make of that?
It's my opinion that it's in order to stop vote by mail and to derail the American people from being able to vote. That is clear that at this particular time that we would slow down the mail process instead of speed it up.
Quick question for the representatives, any one of you guys. Are you guys concerned at all that this upcoming election that the votes will not be able to get counted? And if you are, what can we do about that?
Well, that's why we're going back on Saturday.
That's right. That's why we're going back.
You'll get a kick out of this. Just like these workers, House Democrats are going to deliver on Saturday. Right? We're going back to make sure that the Postal Service has the resources it needs in order to meet its mission. A mission that's more than 2 centuries old, by the way, and is enshrined in the Constitution. This isn't just some agency of government that ought to compete with everybody else for precious services. This is an essential part of a civil society, number one. Secondly, I think it's really important to point out that almost as if we could see the future, the voters of the state of Michigan in 2018 passed by referendum by 2/3 that enshrined in them the right to cast their ballot by mail. That's a decision that the voters of the state of Michigan made. And it's not up to Donald Trump to decide whether or not the people of the state of Michigan ought to be able to exercise that right the way they choose to. So this is a moment where the attack on the Postal Service has been a part of this administration's mission, mainly because they want to everything privatized. They want to put these folks out of work. But the effect of it right now, the timing of their decisions right now, has everything to do with what the president just said. The president said this, not me, that if we don't get this done, then maybe we won't have vote by mail. What does that mean? How do you translate that? That means that the right that people have to exercise their vote in the way they choose to is going to be up to the whim of Mr. Trump or Mr. LaJoy. That's not democracy.
So, and I think it's really important to realize that if you look at the numbers alone from the previous election, you saw 3 times higher rate of people voting by mail. I mean, it was completely flipped from those that vote usually by election. We're now voting by mail, and I think that if you look at the numbers, it's even like 300% increase in those requesting ballots to by mail to be able to vote by mail, because they feel like maybe it's safer and so forth. But you all have to realize even our polling locations are not fully open. Some of them are churches that haven't been open because of this pandemic. And so voting by mail has been the way it's been accessible for us to move our democracy. And again, the numbers alone in this previous election, this last August primary election, shows how critically important voting by mail and having that be accessible right now. And so it is obvious that that rattled the Trump administration and himself, and scared them to see that there was a huge increase. Alone in my district, there's a 21% increase in voter turnout, which is very unprecedented, especially during a pandemic and everything that's going on in our families. And so I do feel like very much it's intentional on the part of this administration.
Are you concerned that voters will not vote by mail due to their mistrust with the system?
No, what I love is I've already heard my residents, they're like, nope, send me my ballot and I'm going to drop it off. I'm not going to put it in. No offense, they know. They're going to go, and what's happening in our local elected folks. I know Wayne County alone has invested $100,000 just to put our own drop boxes throughout the county. I know Oakland County is going to do the same thing. So we're trying to adjust from the disenfranchised. I mean, we have to outwork this corrupt president. We have to go out and make it accessible. So it is definitely something that you're going to watch and see our local elected, including our governor and including Secretary Benson, who I'm going to have a press conference today later on at 2:30 in Detroit to talk specifically about that and about their lawsuit that they're going to be filing today.
If the president does challenge the election because of the vote by mail numbers, is there discussion among Democrats in Congress? How are we going to react?
We in government oversight that Congresswoman Tlaib and I sit on, those are one of the discussions that we're having. There's discussions about how do we remove the president from the White House if he chooses not to leave, because in his mind this election is not accurate. So I would just want us to reflect on history. We have voted through through wars, through pandemic. We had a pandemic before. We continued our elections. And also we had through national disasters. So there is absolutely no reason, unless you dismantle the Postal Service, that we will not be able to vote during this time. Yes, ma'am, you had a question.
I see you all here. I'm so happy to see all of you. What are our local senators doing? And as our former First Lady said so eloquently and so decisively last night in the opening of the convention, what she said was to put your shoes on. And no offense to the post office, but this is a tactic against us, and it seems like we're all having an out-of-body experience. But we should have our senators here as well, and also
our senators.
And you're saying that we're take somebody and we're going to go and drop them off. That was my first time in the primary to ever vote by mail. I always go in even before a traffic light. But we need to also take somebody that may not have transportation, because this is something, because in doing this, we're going to help the post office as well. This is a tactic by this administration to stop us and to make people think that it is not going to work, and it is going to work. So I'm hoping that as you're rallying, our senators that we have in office as well are coming and working with you across the line and helping you as well. And what are they doing? Are they rallying also?
So as we sit on government oversight, Rashida and I, Gary Peters heads up the Senate Companion Commission. He has been pushing, he's been on TV, he walked through the plant with me to look at what's going on. And Debbie Stabenow has always been a fierce fighter for us, and she's there with us. But Gary Peters has a unique responsibility, like Rashida and I, on the committee that have oversight, and they are also having a hearing calling LaJoy on Friday, calling LaJoy in. So all hands on deck. We are going to have to wrap up unless there's another question. I want to thank everyone for coming out. Let's give our postal workers a round of applause.
Central workers.
Yes. So thank you, and keep following us, because we're fighting. We're going to keep fighting. Thank you.
Brenda, thank you so much. That was great. I have some media that I want to talk to.